Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, the two best moderators in all of YouTube. Thank you, gentlemen, for being just amazing. And to my super chat, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding, so I do appreciate your support. It is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. And you allow me to do these live streams. And just thank you very much. I don't have political action committees that funnel hundreds of thousands of dollars from one PAC to another, like some people. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about. They are absolutely unhinged. They are more apoplectic and seething and fuming than they usually are. They are the most miserable. You're talking about the definition of misery. Stewing and boiling and melting within their own discontent, their own venom, their own vitriol towards President Trump. It's really unbelievable. They are completely powerless. They are the ones, and I will get to, there's this, of course, always have to deal with these fantastic issues. There's one wonderful journalist, so-called, who is obsessing with me yet again, and he's written like literally five hit pieces on me, and he constantly brings up my name on Twitter. It's bordering on a very frightening obsession in my view, and I will do a segment on H.A. Goodman's other channel addressing this. Of course, I offered to debate this gentleman. Of course, he didn't want to. But that will be on H.A. Goodman's other channel. So check that out. That'll be probably up on H.A. Goodman's other channel by like 1 p.m. tomorrow, Pacific. But you have people who are saying things like, if they try to replace RBG, then this is the word they used, burn. And this is their terminology, the entire effing thing down. This is a New York Times contributor. So it's like pretty unbelievable. It's pretty unbelievable the level of the delusional and let's not even get to the disgusting disrespectful manner they treated Antonin Scalia when he passed away. Let's just focus now on them saying, oh, it was her final wish. How dare you? And you have a complete meltdown by people who are threatening President Trump, threatening the country, threatening with very peaceful, Dems threaten to pack the courts if Trump gets nominee confirmed, so they're going to pack the courts. They are completely inept. They couldn't even find the person who won Iowa within like the span of 3 or 4 days. They're not going to do anything. J-Man! Widespread Mad Max is coming soon. Be prepared. J-Man, thank you. So it's kind of interesting because you're like, okay, and this is the way you have to deal with people who threaten you. People who threaten you are always going to abide by the actual threat. The ultimatum is like this hollow promise. Like, if you don't do this, I will retaliate. They're going to retaliate anyway. So when they're like, well, nothing's off the table, nothing was ever off the table. They were always going to try to pack the courts. They were always going to try. And the funny thing about packing the courts is that you would need the presidency and both houses of Congress. And they don't have the presidency or the Senate, and Biden has no chance at all of winning. And he'll get replaced eventually, or if he loses, they don't even get close enough to cheat. The same polls that were wrong in 2016 are wrong again. Biden is wheezing, and the man is taking deep breaths, wheezing, constantly out of breath, slurring his speech. And that's not being disrespectful. That's not even hyperbole. Everybody outside mainstream media, if you have any access to his conferences where he's reading verbatim off a teleprompter or a written speech, and he never takes any questions, you can see he's wheezing, breathing heavy, he's tripping, over himself, he's slurring words, and it has nothing to do with an impediment. So the Matrix is slowly coming to its final conclusion, which is Madam Secretary. But that's another story. That'll be the biggest call of all time. Or Trump is going to go 8 years, which that's obvious. So they're not only are they not going to be able to pack the courts, but heaven forbid he might get, it's going to be 6-3. It could be 7-2, God forbid. I don't, the thing with Democrats is that they did this to themselves. So this is a very popular pundit on the left. And it's like he's saying that if they even try to replace RBG, we then, to the entire effing thing down. You're not going to do anything. You have zero power or influence. The left has zero political influence in this country. Zero. President Trump is president, number one. The Senate is run by Republicans, number two. You have people leaving the Democratic Party. You have people leaving California. You have people... you can go on MSNBC on YouTube. Go on MSNBC or CNN. Most of the comment section is like completely run by conservatives. Almost. Not completely, but like... You can't even pass Medicare for all. You have zero... Biden has less enthusiasm and less support. He is polling worse. If you care about polls... And I was quoted, NPR quoted me in 2015, predicting the 2016 election. PH Authority! Thank you, PH Authority. Thank you. PH Authority and everybody here. It's the polls like, okay, you have to look at each election and say, okay, polls that ask, well, who are you going to vote for if the election were held today? That's nonsense. Nobody really understands. Well, first of all, Trump supporters don't answer the phone if it's ABC News or CNN. Secondly, Biden's poll numbers are a complete fabrication because they don't cover Joe Biden. They don't cover the fact that this is Reuters on YouTube. Reuters. When he said, I'm running for Senate. This is Reuters. The man is running for Senate. So we can go on forever. Then with Charlemagne the God, he made the "you ain't" comment that would have tanked any other campaign. But Democrats are complete hypocrites. And that was 3 days before George Floyd was murdered. So the reckoning on these issues apparently didn't happen when Biden was acting disrespectful. Then he said Charlemagne the God was a wise guy for asking legitimate questions. And he doesn't even, Charlemagne the God can't stand President Trump. So then they say things like, if they even try to replace, then we do something to the entire effing, we I don't want to use the word too often on the live stream, but we set ablaze the entire effing thing down. What does that even mean? What the does that even mean? This is the most pathetic, sad bunch of imbeciles. They have zero. They live in cyberspace, and they live on Twitter, and they cheated Bernie Sanders, or they allowed Bernie Sanders to be cheated. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign. They set up and framed Trump. He never worked with Russia. We found that out from the Mueller probe. The Mueller probe completely vindicated Trump. That's why they don't even bring up the Mueller probe anymore. That's why they didn't even impeach him on anything to do with the Mueller probe. They can't, look, they don't run on any policies. They run on fear and groupthink and public shaming of other leftists. Then the same person says something to the effect, over our over our lifeless bodies, and it's like, and then he goes over I'm not going to use the exact word, but over our lifeless bodies, literally. And it's like, these people are in their own like fairy tale fantasy world. They're not going to be able to stop President Trump. That's a fact. They can't stop President Trump. They don't run the Senate. They're not going to get the executive. They're not going, and when Clinton replaces Biden, she's not going to win, although she could make it close. The whole thing with mail-in and absentee voting is that they're expecting a last-minute surge. So PH Authority, thank you. They're expecting a last-minute surge to give them the victory. Tell me what they've accomplished. Tell me what kind of grandiose policy. Like, what have they accomplished? Everybody, okay, you have Hollywood, where you have major producers, directors, actors who have either gone to jail or on their way to prison, completely exposed for who they are. You have people like Kevin Kleinsmith, who Kevin Kleinsmith indicted, top agent at the Bureau, a lawyer, and there's more to come after the election. You have 215 to 300 people facing federal charges now because William Barr's Operation Legend. And then you have the Durham probe with Kleinsmith, like I said, and you have Operation Legend, over 2,000 arrests and 200 to 300 people who face federal charges already. They have decimated their own cities. They have not changed one thing. Not one law have they passed, aside from prison reform legislation that President Trump signed and worked with the great Jim Brown, legendary Jim Brown, and Kanye West, and others. So you had mass incarceration with Democrats, and you have prison reform with President Trump. You have President Obama destroying Libya and turning it into a failed state with Clinton and Biden. And you have President Trump presiding over a landmark historic peace deal between Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain, and presiding over diplomatic and economic ties between Kosovo and Serbia, and being the first president to step foot in North Korea, and removing soldiers from Iraq, and ending the war in Afghanistan, and removing soldiers from Syria, and ending a covert operation to fund rebels that wasn't working and that only added to the chaos and mayhem in that country. I would love to debate anyone on the left regarding the issue of President Trump being a fantastic and amazing president, and a much better president than President Obama. You had 8 years of President Obama, and suddenly the left is like, well, this is a reckoning on the issues. Well, there was no reckoning 8 years prior? Wow, that's convenient. Because 3 days before George Floyd was murdered, and he was, and it was horrible, 6 years prior, if Democrats had done something, and they both happened in Democratic-run cities in New York and Minneapolis, George Floyd would be alive. But Eric Garner was murdered in New York, and Schumer and de Blasio and Cuomo and President Obama and Clinton and Biden and Kerry and Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder, and nobody did anything. There was no reckoning then because Democrats and media didn't call it that. Media is... It's not hyperbole to say media is an extension of the Democratic Party. Perhaps okay, that's not to say that it doesn't report facts. It does. But it omits facts, and it reports only the stories it wants to paint a narrative beneficial to the Democratic Party. You have so many threats, and you have so many there's a great article in the Washington Examiner. And this article is... Okay, wait. Why? Okay, why can't I? Let's see. Washington Examiner. So people are okay. So here we go. People are already calling for violence and court packing following the news of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This is the Washington Examiner. If you can't shut it down, then of course, and this is another person saying, they keep on saying burn it down, meaning they want to transform the whole system. The funny thing is, they can't even pass Medicare for all. They can't even... What can they pass that's transformative in a House that has no intention of addressing or passing any transformative legislation on the left? William R. Abrams! I'm thrilled you left the dark side, young Jedi. Thank you, William. Thank you. Obi-Wan William Kenobi. Thank you. This is so funny, too. And it's like, Mitch McConnell set the precedent. No Supreme Court vacancies filled. No, he didn't set a precedent. He ran the Senate. Then the nation said, we can allow ourselves to be depressed. Then we have to work hard to win the White House and Senate, then push the Dems to end the filibuster and expand the court. If they push through a nominee, they'll really leave us no other choice. Go ahead and do it. Who cares? Then Republicans will own all three branches, and eventually there'll be 502 Republican judges and 501 liberal judges, and oh my God, they want to pack, and then they'll lose a Supreme Court case with by one vote, and oh my God, it's like you're going to pack the courts, but then you don't realize that Republicans could also then even pack further justices. So they have no, and here's the hilarious part. Oh, then one person said the United States had a good run, and these people are narcissists. Wow. See, this is the basis, and I'm going to give you the basis for truth decay. Hey, H.A. Trump wins in November. Do you think we'll actually see some politicians and rogue agents go to jail? Truth decay, we're going to see indictments. I'm not sure about jail. But we'll see indictments. Then they want to, truth decay, they want to abolish the Electoral College, and then you would need, two-thirds of the House, two-thirds of the Senate for a constitutional amendment. So truth decay, thank you very, very much. Defund NASA, thank you. Thank you, defund NASA, thank you. I didn't get old school dad man. Hold on one second. Old school dad man, Harry Reid, way to go, man. Old school dad man, thank you. Thank you. Truth decay, thank you. Defund NASA, thank you. So, Democrats, you all better fight as hard and as dirty as the Republicans have before. They're not. There's nothing that Democrats can do. I don't think they realize this. There's zero that they can do. They did this to themselves. They cheated Bernie Sanders. They set the ball in motion. I spent 2 hours last night explaining that Harry Reid and the night before. If it wasn't for Harry Reid, you would have a 60-vote threshold instead of a simple majority of 50 votes. So they did this to themselves. They elevated President Trump within their own emails. They said, he can't win. Let's elevate him. They cheated Bernie Sanders. And there's a Salon article I wrote said, yeah, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton. I don't care about the Supreme Court. And it still resonates today. I mean, I'm not on the left. I'm supporting President Trump, who deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and who's a fantastic president. Ask the people of Libya what they think of President Obama. In this country, we had record low unemployment before the self-induced recession, self-induced recession. But I mean, their grasp on power is predicated upon duplicity. They would never have wanted to pack the courts if it was 6-3 liberal judges. Again, they would never have said pack the courts if it was 6-3 liberal judges. Never. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you. The mentality is the following, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the mentality. Here's the basis of their duplicity and treachery and hypocrisy. And truth decay, thank you. This is the way they see things. They pretend that their vantage point, whether it's RBG's Last Wish, or Russian interference, or anything they hold sacred, okay? They pretend that if the tables were turned, if the shoe were on the other foot, that they would still have the same vantage point. Their morality is predicated upon these maxims that they don't believe to be maxims. They don't believe these principles to preside in every circumstance. Matt Calmark! Only missed 15 minutes. Can you start again, HA? Don't worry, I'll watch the replay. Matt Calmark! Basically, I'll give you the Cliff Notes. Matt Calmark, thank you. Democrats can't stop President Trump. They're melting and dissolving in an acidic solution of their own venomous vitriol and miserable, pathetic anger and frustration. They're more apoplectic than they usually are. But what they do is they say what they do is the following. They say, you can't have a 6-3 court. There has to be balance. So we're going to pack the courts. They would never have packed the courts or even talked about packing the courts if President Hillary Clinton nominated 3 Supreme Court judges to make it a 6-3 liberal Supreme Court. Does anyone here think they would have packed the courts if the shoe were on the other foot? If they had the advantage? Does anyone anywhere think that they would have talked about packing the courts if they had a 6-3 advantage? No. They wouldn't talk about that. They act, though, as if it's rooted in morality and goodness and justice, and that they're fighting the good fight. They just have a brazen, unbridled quest for political power, and they don't care. Same thing with Tara Reid. They were screaming at the top of their lungs to believe when it was Kavanaugh. They don't care. now, because when it's Tara Reid and Biden. Do you think they would be talking about abolishing the Electoral College if they barely won? If Trump lost by 77,000 votes in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin? Absolutely not. You think they would be focusing on Russian interference had they won? Maybe just to be spiteful with Trump. Everything that they stand for, every single thing that they stand for is based on duplicity. Onward through chaos. God bless. God bless you. Onward through chaos. I don't have anything to do with the message board hoax, but I say this with all due respect. Onward through chaos. Thank you for your support. I've been opposing that whole thing since its inception. I debated Jordan Sather. I think it's a very dangerous message board hoax but Onward Through Chaos, God bless you, and thank you for your support for this channel. But I appreciate the support, and Onward Through Chaos. Thank you. And I said that they would be using it against President Trump, and they are, so. But ladies and gentlemen, all 800 plus people, Onward Through Chaos, thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, they would not be talking about packing the courts if it was a 6-3 liberal majority. They would not be talking about abolishing the Electoral College if they won the Electoral College. They're talking about Medicare for all. They're not passing it through the House. They're talking about universal basic income. They're not passing it through the House. They think that the United Nations is correct and that in 11 years there will be irreversible climate change. And if you listen to Noam Chomsky, he is stating that Donald Trump wants to end human civilization. And there's a fantastic Vox article stating it's the most comprehensive climate change bill in the first climate change bill in a decade. And you had the Democrats, the end of human existence apparently will begin in about 10 years. And they have one bill in the past decade. Wow. Then you have the largest expansion of domestic oil and gas production in the history of this country under President Obama. But you have Democratic politicians buying beachfront property, and oil and gas are fossil fuels, and they don't care. And then if you look, CO2 emissions were at its lowest in decades in 2019, and they're probably even lower because of the self-induced depression or recession, which, by the way, we're getting out of. President Trump's going to win this election. They have convinced themselves that the meltdown is going to be biblical. If they're threatening, if they're making threats now, and it's really funny too because they don't realize that there's another side as well that doesn't handle threats very well. So it's funny, like in life, you probably should realize who you're threatening or who you're trying to pick a fight with. That's something that you learn in life, that like rational people learn in life. You don't want to pick a fight with somebody who could perhaps, defeat you. So Democrats, they're all talk. Politically, they have zero influence or power. Politically, nothing. They impeached President Trump, did nothing. They had a Mueller probe that did nothing except ruin the lives of a bunch of people, but then those people are coming back and they'll be stronger than ever. So, and they're going to lose this next election. Biden? They won't even get close enough to cheat with Biden, and Trump is literally going to eat him alive if they even go with him in the debates. So, you have to ask yourself, who are these people making such threats? Who are these people making such threats? And Why did they cheat Bernie Sanders? It all starts with Bernie Sanders being cheated. And I'm saying this as a Trump supporter. I am getting everything I wanted from Bernie with President Trump. They cheated President Trump. I mean, they tried. I think the Republicans tried to for a second, and then he basically said, okay, you better not. But when they cheated Bernie Sanders, they set in motion. They opened up a can of worms, and it's like putting toothpaste back in the you can't undo what you did. Dean Diefendorf, we absolutely must fill the SC. Of course, seat ahead. Absolutely cannot risk a split court decision. Any potential election shenanigans. Absolutely. Well, it'd be 5-3. I think people say, well, Roberts will side with Democrats. But, I mean, it's still technically 5-3. But Dean Diefendorf, absolutely. But it started with Dean Diefendorf, everybody here. Thank you, Dean. It started with Bernie Sanders. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign in disgrace. When that happened, they lost the grassroots energy and support within the Democratic Party. You can't put toothpaste back in the tube. Okay? What's done is done, and you cannot there's a can of worms that you can't undo. When they cheated Bernie Sanders, and even before Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign, I wrote that one of the Salon articles that talked about, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton. I'm not going to be swayed by fear-mongering regarding the Supreme Court. That was 100% true and a rational viewpoint then, and it's just as relevant and rational of a viewpoint today. The Democrats play this game that they keep losing. They keep telling their voters, well, if you don't accept whatever we do, you're going to lose the Supreme Court. No, Democrats, you will lose the Supreme Court to Republicans. Thank God we need a Second Amendment that's protected. So I've definitely, once I got that death threat, I'm like, yeah, you know what? And the law enforcement and the police officer said, yeah, you should protect yourself. And I did. But back in 2016, I wasn't going to be bullied or swayed or intimidated by the same maniacal buffoons who were obviously cheating Bernie Sanders. Every Bernie supporter knew that. And then they kept saying, well, it doesn't matter. You have to, if you allow Trump to win, you're going to give the Supreme Court to Republicans for a generation. No, you will. No, you will, Democrats. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have cheated Bernie Sanders. Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned. The fact that they cheated, and Elizabeth Warren and Donna Brazile and even Tom Perez for a moment admitted this. The fact that they cheated Bernie Sanders ruined the entire democratic process of whatever existed of the primary system. It was Democrats who forced voters not to vote Democrat. It wasn't the other way around. Democratic voters are not born out of the womb with allegiance to a political party that's completely corrupt. I wouldn't be voting for President Trump if he added soldiers and American soldiers to those regions of the world where they've been in for 20 years. The reason I'm voting for President Trump is because he's doing what I want him to do. I am voting for something. When I was on the left and a Democrat my whole life, all I heard was, well, you might not like this, but you better vote for us, because if you don't, then this, and that will happen. It's like, that didn't resonate with me. And so if Democrats knew that there were voters like H.A. Goodman and a whole bunch of Jill Stein and Bernie Sanders voters who would have gravitated towards Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders if they were given a chance in 2016, and who stated, hey, if you cheat Bernie or if you do us wrong, we're just going to vote for Jill Stein, then it's the Democrats who said, okay, we know we will lose voters, but we don't care because we're so corrupt we can't stop ourselves. Jordan B. I live in SoCal, and it saddens me that I can't put a 2020. Oh, don't do it. Trump 2020 sign on a front yard or a bumper sticker on my American-made truck. Yep. I guess I am silent, but the silent majority will win. Jordan B. The silent majority will win. John Scaly. Biden is the Democrats' Bob Dole. Great point. Great point. Great point, John. Exactly. That's something I've thought of often. Larry Whitaker. Larry, I saw that. Thank you. Join your Patreon. Everyone take your red pill supplement and take your blue pill vaccine. Support nationwide House and Senate. Exactly. Don't have to live in that state. Exactly. Larry Whitaker, thank you so very much as always. Larry. Jordan B, thank you. John Scaly. Exactly, John. That's the comparison I've made many times in my mind. Exactly. Larry Whitaker. We have 1,001 viewers. Larry Whitaker, thank you. Larry, it is so important to kind of repeat what you said, but also, Larry, the foundation of voting, the basis of voting for President Trump is you are getting something. To the 1,000 viewers watching, I am getting a lot for voting for President Trump. As a Jewish American who cares about Israel, who has family in Israel, who had his bar mitzvah at the Kotel, the Western Wall, I am getting a president who's working towards peace. The left doesn't care. They don't view it as peace. They don't view anything good he does as an accomplishment because they're mired in their own apoplectic misery. That's why these imbeciles call up friends and family. I just want to let you know I can't be your friend anymore. And, they are liberals first, then family members, then friends. I'm a friend and a family member first. I am who I am first. My bonds with people are not predicated on whether or not they vote for Hillary Clinton or Trump. I separate that. But these people are maniacal zealots that think that because they're angry, they can go and Pelosi and Schumer and every left-leaning organization could go to the White House fence and take a big giant dump and throw it over the fence, and I wouldn't care. They can be angry and fuming and seething and get divorced, and they can go ahead and, whatever kind of protest they want to show how angry they are. Ooh, I don't care. And 63 million Americans do not give a you-know-what. They seem to think they're so arrogant and they're such narcissists that they think that their anger and resentment should really, embarrass or shame or, concern Republicans or Trump supporters. I'm not a Republican, but if they're angry, like they're threatening Trump and the country, and if you engage in your constitutional duty of replacing RBG, we're going to tear everything down. Go ahead and try to do whatever you want to do. No one cares. Trump was outspent 2-1 in 2016. 63 million Americans voted for President Trump, and they don't care what you do. And just remember, there's Operation Legend, because so William Barr will be on your rear end very soon if you engage in a very peaceful but fiery. He already has 200 to 300 people on federal crimes. So no matter what the wonderful law-abiding officials in Portland or Seattle or Chicago do, you can't circumvent federal crimes. That's why when you have all of these people saying, well, there's no evidence of widespread violence. It's like, yeah, the DAs, district attorneys in these major Democratic-run cities don't charge people during. They haven't really charged people at all. In fact, you had the person who murdered a Trump supporter out on the loose. And then federal agents had to apprehend him. Well, that didn't go as planned, but that didn't work out well for that person. You've had more Trump supporters who've lost their lives in all of this, and you've had Trump supporters of all backgrounds. David Dorn, Burnell Trammell. You've had children. It's just unbelievable, the loss of life. $1.4 billion in property damage. How many black-owned businesses have been destroyed? How many Latino-owned businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses have been destroyed? How many Asian-owned businesses have been destroyed? The true racists are Democrats on the left. And then they write books in defense of unrest. Cosmic Grandpa! Yes! This program was made possible by contributions. Viewers like you, keep up the great work, H.A. Exactly. From the H.A. Goodman Viewership Foundation. Yes, Cosmic Grandpa, hello. Love the picture. Yes. Larry Whitaker, thank you again, Larry. Very, very, very much, Larry. Thank you for your support. And we have 1,028 viewers, and it's just September 20th. We're going to get 2,000 to 3,000 viewers every night. And it'll be because of you, Larry, and everybody here. D. Velasquez! I named my modem Trump 2020. And in 2017, the neighbors have all seen it. Since then, whenever they pull up a Wi-Fi advertisement. Yes! Oh my God, that is the best. Yes, D. Velasquez, yes! I love that so much. D. Velasquez, I love that so much. Thank you so very much, D. Velasquez. Thank you. I love that. Larry, thank you so very much as always. Larry, thank you. But the left and Democrats in general, completely powerless. I haven't had Twitter in 2 years, around 2 years now. And still I have a Twitter impersonator that is breaking the law, and then I have this journalist, quote-unquote, whatever, I'm being generous, that I'm going to do a segment on with his frightening obsession of me. 5 hit pieces, really? I'm not a household name. Why focus on me? 5, I think that's kind of unhealthy. That'll be on H.A. Goodman's other channel tomorrow. Check that out. And then he's like, oh my God, I want on my tombstone that I did this to H.A. Goodman. It's like, really, it's like frightening. But anyway, you have the left is, Democrats and the left are completely powerless to stop President Trump. And I'm telling you, I know the mentality of the left, okay? President Trump goes and Amy Coney Barrett becomes the next Supreme Court justice. That's not going to light a passion or light a flame under their rear end. Chad Swans! Remember November, the 3rd of November, the Democrat treason and plot. I know of no reason why Democrat treason should ever be forgot. Exact. Chad Swans. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Chad Swans, as always. Thank you, Chad. Yes. There's so many, you can make so many correlations to Democratic Party treachery. Chad, thank you so very much. Larry, thank you as always. I find it very interesting that you have they're completely powerless, but then you have the threats. And it's people who engage in ultimatums and threats are very small and frightened people. People who engage in ultimatums and threats are not the type of people that you want to be around, and they're not the type of political party that gets people to vote. See, this is what's going to happen, okay? If you are a football team, and I've seen this in college football and even pro football too, like, and you're like a smaller school, but you're like 11-0, and instead of the championship game, you get to like, the BCS, doesn't respect you, so they give you this like the Holiday Bowl or something or whatever, the toilet bowl, and you're like, oh my God, it's very difficult, and you can see sometimes teams, they're like expecting a bigger bowl game, but they get something that they don't feel they deserve, so they don't really go into the game hyped up. This is going to completely take any wind out of the sails of the Democratic Party, because they're already negative to begin with. Once they see Amy Coney Barrett, what are they going to do? Try to disparage a woman? They spent the 4 years saying, and then what are they going to do? They can't disparage this woman. They're going to try to, but it's going to look horrible for them right before the election. So they are stuck politically. They're in between a rock and a hard place, and they have no power, and they can't do anything other than accept what President Trump is doing. 3 Supreme Court justices and hundreds of federal court judges. And they did this to themselves. Larry, thank you again, Larry. Chad, thank you. They did this to themselves, but you have to understand the psychology is the following. They have no passion already. Think about it. I was a lifelong Democrat. I'm telling you the dynamics here. I'm telling you the psychology of what's taking place. They're up the creek without a paddle. Okay? Their goose is cooked. They're done. Politically, they're done. They're absolutely done. They've already engaged with fiery yet peaceful protests, and now you have Operation Legend. So if their Operation Legend is going to expand, because you have these imbeciles talking about exactly what they're going to do, illegal activity on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and everything. It's already documented. Then they have informants. You think William Barr doesn't have like a whole bunch of informants in all of these left-leaning organizations? Of course he does. Of course he has a whole bunch of informants. So once he picks Amy Coney Barrett and they vote, and I believe the vote, the confirmation would take place, I believe, after the election. The vote could take place right before the election. They're done politically. They're done politically. It's going to take all the wind out of their sails. They already didn't have enthusiasm. This will probably speed up Madam Secretary's, she's entering the contest in slow motion, but that'll probably speed up the charade being ended. But they're done politically. Because you're going to have the left saying, what? You couldn't stop Trump with the new Mueller probe impeachment? You couldn't impeach him, double impeachment, Mueller probe? You couldn't Southern District of New York, Mueller probe impeachment? Stormy? Get Avenatti out of jail. Something. Is there anything we can do? Taxes? His taxes. Quick. Let's get his taxes. We should all rename our modems tonight. Fill that seat and really drive them nuts. No, D. Velasquez. You know what? The modem should be Donald Trump Jr. 2024. That would fry their internets. D. Velasquez, thank you. Larry Whitaker, thank you very, very much. Larry, thank you. But I'm telling you, the psychology, and this is, you learn this from sports. You learn this in life. Like, I played sports in high school, and I am an avid sports fan. I mean, not so much lately, just because the pandemic is kind of, but I love sports. I love competition. And, you know, I was, and this was really beautiful, and I can't wait to go back to studying jiu-jitsu. I was studying jiu-jitsu for a little while before the pandemic, and it was just an amazing experience. And it's such a humbling experience, but it's so beautiful. And I would go to class all the time, and it would be enjoyable to get submitted. Why? Because you learn what not to do, and you go up against people obviously a million times better than you because you just started. But you know, sometimes you get submitted the first 10 seconds, and then, you know, I mean, generally the higher belts obviously they want to allow you to learn. So, but when you're really going at it, and then you get submitted, and you tap, and then they, you know, you start all over again. Before you start, you shake their hands and give the kind of you know, the greeting or the shake to say, hey, this is, you know, it's all good, and there's ultimate respect. But you cannot threaten, you can't fake, you know, power or strength in that environment, because you will be humbled very quickly. See, Democrats are the types of people who go into an arena with a world-class you know, expert in whatever martial arts, or they go into the stadium with a Super Bowl winning team and they expect to win, and they haven't practiced, and they're corrupt, and they just run on media hype and public relations, and they live on Twitter, and then they make these threats, and they don't realize that when you go up against an opponent that is obviously stronger than you, more intelligent, has a far greater skill level, you either have to do one of two things. You can immediately get submitted or immediately lose on the field, and then you can or you can learn from that. But what they do is that they lose, and then they say, well, everything that we did to lose, we're going to continue to do, but with even greater passion and energy, with even greater maniacal fervor. And it's like, that's not the way you get better. You don't get better by continually, like, you get better in anything from jiu-jitsu to football to weightlifting to baseball to basketball to whatever, to writing, by continually learning from your mistakes and trying never to repeat the same mistakes twice. Don't repeat the same mistakes twice. Don't repeat the same mistakes that got you to lose. Learn. Learn from your mistakes. Democrats don't understand that concept. That's a very foreign concept to them. Larry Whitaker! Larry, thank you so very much. Everyone, give Larry a lot of love. Not only is he a Patreon member, but he's just awesome, and just thank you. And his message is very, very positive. It's true. Support Republicans. You can't. This Democratic Party has to go. Join HA's Patreon. Thank you. HA, check out an alternative video platform, Rumble. Get ready for more Big Brother silencing November 4th. Larry Whitaker, thank you. I'm going to look into that. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Thank you very, very much, Larry, as always. Thank you. Mitchell Smith. Hello, HA. Hope all is well. Although at times it is sad, but it's getting politically intense in D.C. and really enjoying the adrenaline rush. The Constitution forever, Democratic Party never. And Mitchell Smith. Mitchell Smith, be here, my friend. Larry, be here. Gentlemen, everybody here, all 1,000 plus people, be here. November 3rd is going to be A truly amazing evening, day. They're not even going to get close enough to cheat with Biden. So if they went with Biden, it's game over for them. They're going with Madam Secretary, and it's just a matter of time. She won't win either. They did this to themselves. They cheated Bernie Sanders also in Iowa in 2020. They did this to themselves. This is what they always do. Aria, hello. Yes, it is. We have 1,000 viewers now. It's pretty awesome. What they do is the following. They never learn from their mistakes. So what they did, and I explained this the other night, what they did is they cheated Bernie Sanders by disparaging him, and by, even in 2020, Elizabeth Warren saying that he told her that a woman couldn't win. They focused on Russia for 4 years. They focused on misogyny and deplorables the year prior to the election, and temperament. They kept on talking about temperament and how Trump is a racist and a bigot and a demagogue and how he's a bad person. And they did that all throughout the 2015 election. They did that all throughout 2016, then 2017 after they lost, 2018, 2019, and 2020. Trump is a bad person. He's a horrible human being. He's a racist. He's a monster. They never changed their tune. They are going to lose again. That's the reason I brought up the sports metaphor, is because in sports, if you don't adapt, you are going to lose. If you continue to do the same things over and over again, if you have the same failed losing tendencies, you will lose. That's why teams get scouted. Emily Cooper! You should get your testosterone tested. I think you'll find it's way too high. Emily Cooper, thank you so very, very much. Oh, my goodness. You know what I do? My secret is I listen to recordings of Jerry Nadler. And after that, my testosterone gets a boost. An incredible boost you can't believe. Emily Cooper, thank you so very, very much. Emily, thank you. But, like, why do you scout in football or baseball or basketball or why do you scout your opponent? Because you want to find out tendencies. You want to find out what they do third and long. If they ever go 4th and 1, what are they likely to do? Okay? What are they not good at? Force them to do what they're not good at. And so, if you can force your opponent to do what they're not good at doing, then you're going to win. If you can mitigate your mistakes, if you can refrain from continuing, strategies that don't work, and learn from your mistakes, you can eventually win. Democrats do the opposite. They say, look, we almost won with this horribly failed strategy. Now all we need to do is make sure that the 65 million people who voted for us are so seething and fuming and apoplectic, we don't even have to give them any policies. We'll just say that the sky is falling, the republic has ended, the Constitution is torn to shreds, the country no longer exists, and if you vote for President Trump, it's the end of you understand, Noam Chomsky states, he wants to end human existence because of climate change. So, end human existence. They are in an entirely different world from the one that you and I are within. They don't have any grasp on reality. Emily, thank you so very much. Larry, as always, thank you. Aria Lee! Aria, our family is growing here. Love, truth, reason, and logic and comedy. This channel is amazing. Love you all. Aria, thank you so very much, as always, for watching and always for your kind words and support. It's a true pleasure to have you here always, Aria. Thank you. Thank you, Aria Lee. Thank you. But Democrats don't learn. They do the same things over again. And Bernie Sanders, Warren, you said that I said that a woman couldn't win. Why would I speak such mishegas in my life? I never said that. Why would you say that I said that? Why would you say that I said something that I never said? Because you put words in my mouth. I never said that to you. Well, obviously, I never said that to you. Why did you say I said that? And then CNN, Washington Post, Elizabeth Warren confirms that Bernie Sanders told her. This is why media is like so. It's like this propaganda machine. It's so hilarious. Gossip, confirmation. The gossip has been confirmed by other people who heard the hearsay and gossip who have confirmed. It's been rock solid confirmation of gossip. I never said that a woman couldn't win. Why would I do that? Why would I? And you said that, Bernie. And then they got into it at the debate. And this is like the worst. This is the worst political party in the history of mankind. You know, Warren, I just want to thank you so very much for putting words in my mouth that I never uttered. I certainly wouldn't say that a woman couldn't win the election. I love women, and they can win anything. And by the way, not only did you lie about me saying that a woman couldn't win the election, but thank you so very much, Elizabeth Warren, for endorsing me in 2016. Okay? I want to thank you. No, I want to thank you very much, Elizabeth Warren. Thank you. Do you remember when you endorsed me? You remember when you endorsed me? No, that's because you didn't endorse me. I'm being facetious. Not. You didn't endorse me when I needed you the most. Backstabbers are smiling in your face all the time. They want to take your place. Yeah. You didn't endorse me in 2016, did you? Okay. So you made up for that by lying about me. Okay, thank you. With friends like you, who needs enemies? No wonder the left is so dysfunctional. Because you have Elizabeth Warren single-handedly tanking Bernie Sanders. Single-handedly taking Bernie Sanders. JM, thank you. Single-handedly. And it's like, this is how dysfunctional the left is. It's so hilarious. Not only is Max Boot and Bill Kristol voting alongside Bernie Sanders, you have Elizabeth Warren running in 2020 who, listen to this, all 1,022 people. This is how insidious the Democrats are. Bernie Sanders could have won the whole thing this year, okay? I still would have voted for President Trump. Bernie is like a walking doormat of the Democratic Party. But Bernie Sanders could have easily won the Democratic nomination this year. What happens? Elizabeth Warren runs not in 2016. She runs in 2020. She is a carbon copy of Bernie Sanders. A carbon copy of Bernie Sanders. But a tiny bit more establishment. It's true she failed her DNA test, Madam 1032nd. But she would have, but he would have won had it not been for Elizabeth Warren cutting the Medicare for All Green New Deal vote into two. Then what happened was the following. So she's a little bit more of the tiny bit more establishment than Bernie Sanders. She comes in. Bernie's vote is kind of cut into two, or at least a big part of voters who would have sided with Bernie Sanders go with Warren. Then she slowly cultivates them, and then completely takes them away from Bernie Sanders by saying that he told her in private that a woman couldn't win. And when she did that, those voters, they never had a chance of going back to Bernie Sanders again, it's so obvious what took place. It is so obvious what took place. So what they did is they've spent, I'm telling you, Bernie Sanders, single-handed, he didn't mean to do it. And my God Almighty, he's given his soul to them. But what he represents, right or wrong, what he represents is a passionate, energetic, idealistic, and in many respects, noble vision for the Democratic Party. Whether it's pragmatic or feasible is another story. They've spent they are going to descend into a cauldron of madness because of Bernie. Not because, nothing he did wrong. Because they tried to use him to generate support among young people and, people who were just interested in his policies. What they ended up doing is creating this, through no fault of Bernie's, this monster. Then you have the $20 million venture capital funded people who latched on to Bernie like barnacles and further diluted or destroyed any possibility that he could win. Because those people, when he was cheated, said, yes, we acknowledge that he was cheated. We acknowledge that Bernie Sanders was cheated, but we're still going to vote for Hillary Clinton anyway. Like the very sad and pathetic people who don't show any fight. They just said, oh, well, we understand Bernie Sanders was cheated, but we will vote for Hillary Clinton anyway. That is a green light for the Democratic Party to then continually utilize Bernie Sanders to get voters and at the same time disparage him and demean him. And at the end of the day, Emily Cooper. I don't know if I'm going to read that out, Emily. But Emily, thank you very much. Why do you think I'm so happy? Emily Cooper, thank you. Wow. Emily Cooper. Emily Cooper, thank you. So these are the dynamics that are going to undo the Democratic Party. Then when they lose again, because they're going to lose, it is going to be, and Larry, thank you very, very much. Larry Whitaker, thank you again. When they lose again, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be absolute pandemonium. The I'm with her crowd is going to blame the Bernie Sanders crowd. The identity politics crowd is going to blame the Bernie Sanders crowd. The far left is going to blame everybody else. The environmentalists, the climate change people, the universal basic income people, the Medicare for all people. Who knows what will happen to the Green Party people? Okay? Every single faction, every single group within the Democratic Party will think of breaking off. And they're pretty much done at that point. And then Twitter, you're going to see Trump is going to take down Twitter also. Because what Twitter does, it gives them a world. See, there used to be a time in not that long ago in media and American politics where the most logical and reasonable and rational arguments, and it's still that way, but the most rational arguments won out. The most rational arguments would win by virtue of their value to society and of their, of just the fact that just because they were the most valid and truthful arguments. Truth eventually wins out. Okay, you can't simply yell pack the courts and think your political side's going to win. President Trump won because he is on the side, in terms of his policies, he's on the side of truth. Bringing Americans home from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts is a truthful and good and noble position. The Lincoln Project people and Democrats are not on the side of morality when they push for never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. They're just not. We've seen their failed policies, whether it's smart power or the neoconservative view of things. It's the same horrible thing. They cause more chaos and mayhem. They make the country less safe. You also can't blame the NRA when there's a madman who commits an atrocity. See, Democrats make these leaps of logic. Well, the Lincoln Project people like us, so that means Trump is on the ropes. Like, no, they were kicked out. Oh, well, the NRA is at fault for some madman. No, the NRA is not losing any lawsuits because of these madmen. Okay? There's been like 2,000 shootings in Illinois and New York, gun control cities. Nobody is suing the mayors of those cities. So they make these absurd leaps of logic. President Trump won because he addressed issues. You can disagree with his policies, but he addressed important issues. And the issues that he addressed are rooted in rational thought. Yet, China is going to be the number one economy in 30 years. We're going to be third behind India and China. So you might as well, if you can engage in tariffs now, you might as well do so. That's not their mentality. See, they focus on words. Well, if you say this, and this word is correlated to what bad people say, and when bad people say it, then and if you repeat it, you're a bad person. You're just as bad of a person. They don't make any sense. That's why the censorship isn't going to help them. They're going to lose this election because they don't have any grasp of rational thought. They live within hyperbole, and the hyperbole is elevated. The nuttier and more hyperbolic you are, the more you're retweeted on Twitter. And you get these things on Twitter, these people on Twitter, it's like the same thing all over again. And I don't have Twitter, but I can see what they're taking. I'm not going to get into the specific request. Jacob Reed. Peace is close, but Jacob Reed, just because of YouTube policies, I don't know if I could bring that up, but Jacob, thank you. Thank you, Jacob, thank you. Well, one's a NATO, I think both are one is a NATO, Turkey is a NATO member, but Jacob Reed, thank you. Jacob, thank you. But what happens, ladies and gentlemen, is instead of the most rational, logical, truthful arguments winning, what takes place is you have the most absurd arguments. Like, for example, on the left, you'll hear, this is a daily nonsense you hear. People stop using, I'm just making it up. It's like complete nonsense, but I'm making it up. But I'm not going to get into the specific words. Stop using the word armadillo. Armadillo, it was created by this anthropologist who worked for this university in the 1920s. In the 1920s, that university backed this policy, and if you use the word armadillo, you are backing the policy that this professor who worked at this university in the 1920s also backed, and that you espouse the same thing as they do, and you're a bad person for using the word armadillo. And and this is like a 22-year-old telling you this. It's retweeted 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 times. And then the word armadillo is banned from Twitter. Or, it's viewed as a word that promotes, negative emotions. And they do this all the time. And nobody questions, the logic behind it. It's society hasn't changed that much in 4 years. Because in 2015, 2016, you didn't have all of this. Because the neoliberal I'm with her crowd was like, we are the adults in the room, and, we're not too far left. We can't be too far left because, we're just liberal enough. We're the largest expansion of domestic oil and gas production, but we really believe in climate change, okay? And we want peace, but you know what? Well, if you have to destroy Libya, that's what you did. It's a mistake, And you never had the far left didn't have a voice. My articles were getting retweeted by Rose Twitter before there was a Rose Twitter. Then Rose Twitter came. Then the far left came. Then the far left academia came. And then it's like complete pandemonium. It's complete and utter pandemonium. On the left. The right doesn't, conservatives don't care. Trump supporters don't care. They'll use, it doesn't matter. They're going to, use whatever names for animals or whatever. It doesn't matter. They don't care. They don't care about the speech codes. They don't care about the subliminal subtext here and there. Da, da, da. They look at the fiery but peaceful protests. The average, the biggest racists are the Democrats, because when you ask them, well, defund the police, but actually they did a poll. Most black and Latino voters want a strong police force. They don't want to defund police. Why would you assume that Americans of all backgrounds want to defund the police because there happen to be officers who engage in atrocities? You wouldn't defund hospitals because of medical malpractice, would you? But again, it's too much. It's too much logic. The left runs only on hyperbole and emotion. If they can't fabricate, is Jacob Reed? Thank you very much, Jacob. Thank you. Julio, you. HA sits on a throne of impressions of Bill and Biden. Come on, man. Julio, you. I want to thank you, Julio, you. Thank you so very much. Audrey, please, when you are voting for president, you are not only voting for yourself, since the USA is the most powerful country in the world. South America needs you to get rid of these freaks. Trump 2020. Audrey, thank you. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you so very, very much. They're on their way, Audrey, to getting rid of themselves. It's kind of interesting. It is kind of interesting. You see them getting, you see them basically, what they've done is they've created a world. See, I guess my point is Twitter and media in general, but Twitter in particular, and Facebook, but mainly Twitter. At least Facebook, you can kind of you're not forced to debate people all the time. But with Twitter, it's like you're in constant, in politics, that's why I don't have one of the reasons I don't have a Twitter account. You're constantly bombarded. You're constantly bombarded with negativity and these threatening, belligerent, in-your-face type of messages from people you don't know. Trying to either provoke you or to urge you to get into this protracted argument where the argument is never even about what you say. It's about what your words represent, which is how the left debates. So the left is like, well, you're voting for Trump. You're racist. Like, how are you racist? Because President Trump has allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever. And also signed prison reform legislation and we had record low black and Latino unemployment. So how is that a racist president? But you have Twitter, that will also be the downfall of the Democratic Party, because they don't have anything like Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Biden. They don't get people. There's no passion. They don't get people energized. The one person who did, Bernie Sanders, has been completely decimated by Democrats. So they don't stand. The Democratic Party will dissolve into nothingness 6 to 7 months, or I should say will be even more irrelevant, 6 to 7 months after this election. President Trump's going 8 years. They're going to either have to redefine themselves, start a completely new, they're going to have to redefine themselves completely, or they will continue to just dissolve into like this cyber madness where different factions break off their political party. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am kind of running out of steam. Audrey, thank you. Jacob, thank you. Larry Whitaker, thank you so very, very much for your support, Larry. And so then, 1,000 people here. Be here tomorrow. There's a quote unquote, I should say, journalist that is obsessing over me. I must have, it's really hilarious too, because my writing has struck a nerve, and these people are obsessed with me 4 years after they read my articles. It's pretty unbelievable too, and it's frightening. So I'll explain that tomorrow, and it all has to do also with Amy Coney Barrett. It's really bizarre. It's kind of an interesting story. I'll explain it tomorrow on H.A. Goodman's other channel, and that'll be around 1 p.m. or so, 1:30 p.m. So check that out on H.A. Goodman's other channel. Of course, I'll have my upload on this channel, and be here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pacific on this channel as well. If you want to be part of a newsletter, ladies and gentlemen, it's contactgoodman78@gmail.com. Tell your friends about this channel, people. Tell your friends about this channel. And I'm not speaking to my viewers here, especially the super chat has been fantastic always. Thank you, and Larry, thank you. But if you want to support my voice long term, I'm speaking to people who watch the upload. My Patreon is below. Your support is greatly appreciated. People, I'll see you tomorrow. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, the two best moderators in all of YouTube. Daniel, thank you. Thanks, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow.